So thank you so much first for your interview.
My pleasure, thank you.
So first question, I was wondering, why did you decide to come to Europe first to promote your album?
Well, you know, it's funny. When it's been kind of a whirlwind with finishing this record and stuff like that. And I literally maybe finalized the artwork a week and a half ago. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where it was like I was in Russia with Decibels, and I was trying to find internet so I could email Angela, and like we were going back, like, we would like go back and forth. Angela Dean's the one that painted the cover, and we would just go back and forth, and she was amazing because it was very hard for me to like get in touch with her and stuff, and she just was unbelievable. So like finished that, I think that week that I got home, and then yeah. Oh man, what day is today? It's the 9th, right? So I was just there. Yeah, it was like the last day of August when I think we finalized the artwork, and then it was like then of course then you have to go through like different proofs and different things where like you know Vagrant has like their art director and like the thing. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. So why did we decide to come here? Mies, John out there, right?
Okay.
He works for Hassel, who releases the record over here, and we found out that there was this week in between Riot Fests where I was home, and they were like, we want you guys to like come over and do press or do acoustic stuff or something like that. And so my kid's first day of school was the 7th, so we decided like, all right, well I'll be home the 7th, I'll fly the 8th, and then you know, it just worked out like schedule-wise where they could get venues and stuff like that. So
it's so
pretty
unexpected.
awesome. Yeah, I know, right? And that was the thing, we had to announce it, so it was like, we announced like 2 days ago?
Yeah, everyone was like freaking out, everyone was like, why is it announcing now?
I know. But you know, that's the fun. That's the fun of it.
So, we heard your song "I'm a Mess" that came out Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think it sounds different from the celebration.
It does, yeah.
What is the main thing that evolved for you and the band? Do you feel more confident about this album coming out?
Dude, it's weird. Like the big difference for me was when I did Stomach Aches. It was very selfish. I had no intention of releasing it. And I didn't think anyone would ever hear it. It was one of those things, I just made it for myself, and I did it in my basement, and that was it. And then, very organically, like a friend of mine, you know, asked what I'd been up to. I played it for him. He like convinced me to play it for some other people, and then before I knew it, there was a record coming out, and that was nerve-wracking because it was like writing a diary and then having like, oh, no one's ever gonna hear this, so you can write like cringe-worthy stuff. It doesn't matter, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well now everyone's gonna hear it. So now I wrote a record that I knew people were going to hear. It was going to be put out into the world somehow, and so now the emotion is more anticipation, and I can't wait for people to hear where the rest of it goes, because I feel like Mess. Have you heard the rest of the record?
No.
No. Okay. I
It
feel like
was really last minute.
I understand. That's right.
Yes.
Mess is very much a bridge between Stomach Aches and Parachutes.
Oh.
So where it goes from there is there's a lot more twists and turns, which is kind of fun. But I think that's why too it was like, all right, this is just a taste, and I think people will be pleasantly surprised with where it goes from there.
Yeah. So I love the song though.
No, thank you.
Really good.
Thank you very much. It was
Favorite
definitely.
so far.
Yeah? Oh, that's awesome. It was one of the things where, when writing that song, you know, I had written around 18 songs for the record, and we ended up recording 12 of them. That was, collectively, I think, our least favorite song when we wrote it.
Okay.
And just because it didn't work right, and then finally we demoed it, and it made total sense, and then it became like one of our favorites. And I thought that as far as sentiment goes, like it was one of the most important songs to like get out first, because I thought that it was something that really needed to be said. So.
Okay.
I'm glad that you guys like it.
That's really
Someone? So you talked about Angela, so I just wanted to know why you choose this artist in particular and how you succeeded to like give her you ideas and what are the main things. Sorry. So what are the main things that inspired you to choose like this kind of artwork and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, all right. So the first time around, I was lucky enough to work with Heather Gable, right? Who I've been a fan of and worked with in the past. This time around, I fell in love with Angela's work, and it's weird. Like when I saw Heather's photo, I knew immediately that was what we needed for the record because it encompassed everything. When I saw Angela's work, I knew immediately that it was that she had to be involved somehow. And if she wouldn't be involved, that I would have to rip it off somehow. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to do that. So like that was so awesome that she was like, very into it. But she's an amazing artist. She's done, like she does these great huge floral paintings. She just unveiled one that's like giant. It's like 40 by 40 or something. But I think she got a lot of recognition from working on found photographs and painting. She did like these witch things, and she did a full ghost series. And the ghost series really spoke to me because of what the record represents to me and the title of the record. So that all ties in now to this, right? So my feeling about life in general is that we're all just kind of plummeting to an eventual demise or eventual impact, and where there's no escaping it. Like we're all going to just hit the ground at some point, and it's all going to end. And some of us, can't latch on to anything. We go immediately, and it's just like this, in the blink of an eye, it's over. And some of us are able to be saved a little bit, and these life-saving devices or parachutes could be anything. It could be things that you enjoy. It could be art. It could be loved ones. It could be being a journalist. It could be anything that just lets you kind of stop and hover for a little bit before we smack into the ground. And I started to think about that a lot, and I thought about, well, what defines those things? Like, where do we get those from? Like, what leaves that impression on us that we latch on to certain things? And I started to think about, the first thing that we see, the first thing that we experience in our life is our parents, and they're the first things that kind of protect us and save us. So they're our first parachutes, and they kind of set the stage for the things that we love. So I knew they had to be incorporated into the artwork. And then I started to think about, the way ghosts are cloaked in these these sheets or could be a parachute kind of thing. And then also I started to think about, well, what if, being a ghost and being a parachute could kind of be the same thing, because not only do our parents are the initial saviors, but eventually, it's the course of life where, as everyone does, they pass on and eventually end up saving us again by letting us go and letting us become like the people that they knew we were going to be. So that's the whole time with the art and the title.
So how did you realize that your life could be compared to a parachute? Like, how did it make sense to you?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, how did it make sense? No, it's not like because I would never have thought about it, and then it makes sense now. It's like, how did you realize like life could be a metaphor?
I think about things a lot.
Yeah.
I do. I think and I think and I think and I overthink things, and I guess I started to think about these songs and the experiences that inspired them. And conversations that I had with Russ Robinson, the producer. And we would have these long conversations that at first I hated and then grew to fucking love and cherish. And they were about, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you? and we would discuss these things. And think of the worst thing that you could possibly even think to remember about your childhood. And then the secondary question was, do you love your life now, where you're at in your life? Would you change anything? And that answer was no. And then if that answer is no, then was the worst thing that happened to you actually the best thing because it turned you into this, or made you think a certain way, or made you feel this way, or made you, take this turn in your life and get you to a certain point? And if that's the case, right, then these things that we see as terrible and horrible are actually these saviors. Sometimes you make a horrible mistake, but you don't make that mistake ever again. And if you had made that mistake again, maybe that would have been it. And so I started to think about saviors. And on the first record, all these songs that I wrote, they started out as these sicknesses, these ailments, these stomach aches. I could trace back every song that's on that record, every song that I wrote, to a time when I felt horrible and sick. And so they became synonymous with that word. So the record had 12 songs on it, but it was also 12 stomach aches that I had. And then I started to think about this record, and this record was 12 songs, but they were these 12 life-changing, life-saving events. And I started to think about how, we're all just careening through space, falling at an incredible rate. And I started to think about how that was kind of the same thing as just jumping out of a plane. And so. It's weird to go through the whole process of the inception of an idea.
It's so interesting. It's really interesting.
I'm glad. Some people, because I can bore the shit out of you about other stuff. Go ahead.
So we saw that your family has a huge impact on your music.
Yeah.
You made songs with your daughters.
I did.
And everything. What impact did your music have on them? And did they help you during the making of this album, for instance?
Yeah. I mean, let's see. What's funny to me too is how much they love to make music and invent different melodies and songs and stuff like that. It's crazy. I thought it was unique to a certain time period when we did BFF and all that stuff together, but it's gotten even more now. There's a portion of a song called Viva Indifference. It's the second to last song on the record, and there's the bridge to that song. It's kind of for me at least, is this look behind the curtain. And the song itself is about how wonderful it is to be numb and not care about anything, because if you don't care about anything, you can never get hurt. The inside joke to that is that that's not really living. The whole point of being here is to experience the good and the bad. And if you don't do that, then what's so so at the end of the song, the people in the song realize that they do care, and they blame each other for showing each other how much how important love is, and to be to accept yourself, and to care about things, and to have these experiences, and the bridge of the song is like I said, this unveiling behind the curtain of the lyric goes, I work in the garage all day long, painting pictures, inventing songs. I'll visit life, but I can't stay long. I gotta find a better way. And what that to me is, and I wrote that with my son in the car when they were driving to Chuck E. Cheese, and we just started humming this melody. He started humming this melody, and then I started putting words to it, and we started we just made this song together. And it's about how you or at least me as an artist, you put yourself in this thing where you're constantly toiling away and missing out on things that are out there that you should care about and should end up inspiring you down there and doing this thing. So yeah, they inspire me to no end, and I think I have a little bit of the same thing for them. I hope it's a positive inspiration on them. But
so do you think you will work again on your other projects, or this one, or do you prefer evolving and always trying new things? We heard from James and you that Dead Spells has some future, but what about Blood Nun or Leathermouth, for instance?
I don't know. I don't know. Like with Leathermouth, that was like it was friends of mine had this band, and they needed a singer, and I came in and wrote some lyrics and had a great time doing it. And then when we decided to do it, we got a record deal, and then they ended up quitting because of they went to this church and they had they're like a born again Christian thing, and their pastor wouldn't let them to be in the band. It was really strange. They were really great guys. It was a really strange thing. I was like, all right, well, I don't know what to do now. So I put a band together to tour because I felt like I had gotten this record deal and I felt obligated to do that. But it was no longer a band, and that just didn't feel right, you know. I love those songs. I love that record, but it's weird, you know. And I thought to myself, like, well, if I'm just gonna put a band together and do this, I'm gonna do my own thing, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I started to think about, you know, Celebration and Parish and the Patience. With DS, with Death Spells, James and I just have crazy schedules. I think whenever we end up having free time again, we probably will do something. What was the other one? Oh, Blood Nun. We'll see.
And Fancy Bread?
Fancy Bread, probably never. That's I mean, every month or so, me and Sean and him will go have breakfast. And, you know, I think that's the most reasonable of that.
So, and do you think like all these projects, like, are they linked together for you?
I think so.
And like, do they represent like something from you? Like each project like, represents something different from you? Like, and all the projects together, like the portrait or something.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's as easy as like, you know, like, oh, if you like put them all together and draw a line, like it forms a picture kind of thing. But I think that to me, it's like building a skyscraper, right?
Yeah.
Without one, you're missing a floor, and the foundation kind of crumbles. And that's why it was so important to me to finish the Death Spells record and have it come out, because I felt like I knew personally that I couldn't have gotten to Stomach Aches, and especially I couldn't have gotten to Parachutes without DS. And I felt like it needed to be out in the world for me to be able to finish Parachutes. Like, I was having a really hard time finishing Parachutes, and especially lyrically, without Death Spells being done. And once that finished, it was like, psh, it was awesome. It was crazy. But yeah, I think they all, I reference a lot.
Okay.
You know, there's a Pensy Prep reference in Parachutes.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody will catch but me, but it's in there. And it's just, you know, there's no way you would be the person who wrote it. You would be the person who wrote it as well. You're the person without, like, you know, the weird, minuscule shit that happened to you when you were 5 years old. Like, these things shape you and they change you, and you may not even realize it, but it's so important. Like, you can't have the present without the past. And so, it's such a journey. And there's things that, you know, you've done that you look back on and you cringe. Like, I can't believe, you know, like, there's like that Pensy record, like, I was like, maybe 16, 17, like, when those songs were written, like, there's shit on that record that I'm like, I cannot believe that's on that record, you know what I mean? But, what are you gonna do, you know, like, it's who I was then, and it shaped who I am now, and those experiences I wouldn't trade for the world.
So last question.
Gotcha.
So, you know, like you're a lot on the internet and you post like everything, like all the information about the album and stuff on the internet and everything.
I'm really good at social media. I'm terrible at everything else.
You're really good at it.
I can crush social media. Like, that's not. I'll tell you. I can do Twitter. I can do Instagram. Snapchat, I have no idea how to figure it out. I don't have an account because I can't figure it out.
It's easy.
That's what everyone says to me, and everyone says like, it's real easy, I'll show you, and then they never do, and I don't know how to do it. I cannot figure out Facebook. It makes no sense to me.
Anyway.
So, like, that's another thing, like, and thank God for Vagrant and Marie at home, like, they control the website and Facebook. And anything else I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
It's fine. It's fine. You need to like sort out Snapchat.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
It's a fun
Why are people so excited about it?
I don't know.
I think it's fun.
It's just there's this not fun thing. It's like just entering people's life and like, they just post like everything about their life in pictures and you're just like I don't fucking care about
that. Sounds terrible. Why would anybody want to do that? Like that sounds horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So but on the other hand, sorry, I'm continuing.
Yeah.
Like for us, like it's really positive because, like for example, we meet each other thanks to the internet, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you meet people thanks to the internet. You go to concerts with people you met on Twitter, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it can be quite dangerous. Like because people can be really nasty and like scream and stuff like that. Yeah. And so, what do you think about that? Like, do you get more positive or like negative aspect, as like you're a famous person? So it's yeah.
Okay. I think that there's a major problem in this day and age, and especially too with and I don't mean to sound like an old fuddy-duddy about it, but by even saying that, I probably do. I think that there's a real problem with the younger generation and being on the internet, and the problem is attention and not understanding the difference between a positive and a negative attention. It's just it's any kind of reaction. They just want any kind of like to be noticed, and they don't care if it's negative or positive. And that's a horrible thing, I think. And I think it translates to real life as well, where you have these people, these young people doing things that they have no business doing, or disrespecting themselves in order to just be noticed. And that's sad. It's really sad. You know, I don't know if as just like an outside person or whoever, like, can fix that in any way. I think that's something that's internal, and that's something that the way that you're brought up and the attention that you get at home. But I think that as a population of the world, we're fixated on celebrity or just being famous and being known. Like, you ask some people, like, or you ask young kids, like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I've heard kids say, like, I want to be famous. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, for what? And just, they don't care. It's not like I want to be an athlete, or I want to be a musician, I want to be an actor. That's just famous. And people achieve that. Like, there's people that are famous, and we have no idea why they're fucking famous.
Kardashians.
Stuff like that. And it's like, you know, it's through, like, people that, like, are famous on Twitter, or famous on YouTube, or famous on Snapchat. And it's like, well, why? You know, what is that? I don't know. It's very much a voyeur thing that we have going on. So there's a lot of issues, but with that being said, you know, there's positive and negatives to everything, and I think that the good that can be done through social media and through the internet can greatly outweigh the negative. I think just sometimes there's a very small few that are really loud, you know, and that's what I'm.
When you're on Twitter, you just like.
It's cool.
I guess you get that, like, it's quite.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm really ashamed for people. Like they do some stuff and just stay out of the internet.
Yeah, I know. But that's, you know,
You can't do anything about it.
no, you can't do anything about it. But also, too, like, how do you know? You can't have the sweet without the sour. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know.
they just make the good people, like, seem so much better.
Exactly.